Unit 2, Topic C, Set Field Properties. I've created a field called first name, and if we want to look at the properties for this field, we can go on the home ribbon, right on the left, and change the view from the datasheet view, which you're currently seeing, to the design view. Now there is the first name field that I've created, and currently you'll see that it is a number data type. Now, as the example I used earlier noted, that cell phone numbers can't be added or subtracted from each other. So first names can also not be added or subtracted from each other. So the number field here is typically wrong. Now the way that we're going to change that is to drop down the list and choose the appropriate field type or data type for this field. So the appropriate data type for things like first name is short text. Now while we're here, while we're in the design view, let's go and create a second field. So let's call this last name. And as I tab across, I again can have a choice of the different data types. In this instance, I'm also going to use short text, and this would be typically used for the first name and last name of a person. If I had to go do a cell phone number, remember that I would still use short text. So when would I use things like number or date time or currency? So say for instance we're busy with a personnel database and I want to capture somebody's salary. It's a very simple example. Then I'm going to use a particular data type called not number but currency. Now currency and number are very similar. They actually at the base they are the same data type, except that currency allows me to have currency prefixes like R for Rand or the dollar sign, and that makes the data capturing and the data display a lot easier. So the different field properties that we can set, first of all, I'm going back to the datasheet view and I'm saving this table because I've made changes to it, is I can specify first name, last name and cell phone as a short text data type. I can specify salary as a currency data type, and if I click to add a new field, there are all the other different data types. I can specify date and time, for instance, to specify birth date. And birth date now is a date type. If we go look at the view, at the design view, we can see that birth date is a date time type field. And this is how we set the different field properties for data types. If we go into data types a little bit more extensively, let's look at currency, for instance, which is the salary. And now at the bottom, remember we're still in the design view, not in the datasheet view. We're in the design view. And when we look at currency, for instance, at the bottom of this design view, there's a section that deals with field properties. And it has a general tab and a lookup tab. Lookup we're not worried about now. General tab creates a list of, first of all, what the different formats are. And now you can see that we have different currency formats. We have a general number format, a currency format, a euro format, fixed, standard, etc. Now, for this particular data type, currency, we're going to stay with the currency format. We can have decimal places to the 14th decimal place, but because this is currency, typically we're going to stay with a 2 decimal places. Input masks and captions we're going to deal with later on. So just know for now that any data type has additional field properties that can be set for that type. When I go look, for instance, at short text, you'll notice that the field properties for short text are completely different. The field size, for instance, here is maximum 255, and that can be changed. Now, the reason why we change field sizes is to make the database as small as possible. So if I know that the largest cell phone number I'm ever going to use is 13 digits, or 13 characters rather, I'm going to change this to 13 so that the database doesn't cater for anything more than 13 characters, thereby not wasting additional space. Format for short text has a whole lot of different masks that we'll get to later, but we won't deal with them now. Captions, validation rules, etc. we'll deal with later. For now, what is important for you to understand as I go back to the datasheet view and I save this table is that you have the ability to add a field and specify its data properties on the datasheet by dropping down the click to add, or to go to the design view and specify them in the field name and data type area, and then manipulate the field properties as you go along. When we start creating databases in more detail, we will revisit this section. End of topic C.